Hey, what's going on, guys? Josh from Trailbuild back again with you with our third episode of Shop Talk. So this is an episode or a series where we talk about all kinds of technical garage shop talk things. Like today we're going to be talking about some tire stuff. We're going to talk about where the terminology rig comes from. So Shop Talk is a series of videos where we talk about technical things about your guys' build. You guys ask questions and we're here to answer them. So make sure and let us know in the comments below what kind of questions you guys have for Blair and Brent and myself. Blair and Brent are skilled craftsmen at what they do. They work in our garage and they build all different kinds of things, anything from your mild trail Jeep daily driver all the way up to SEMA trucks and supercars, and there's a whole bunch of different stuff in between. So definitely have a lot of experience, and today we're gonna talk about a couple of different things. We'll get into that shortly. But first, guys, don't forget, if you are looking for a package set of wheels and tires or a suspension system or even some accessories for your Jeep, Toyota, truck, or SUV or off-road rig, make sure and check out our website, trailbuiltoffroad.com. So, with all of that said, one of the questions that we got this week from the last episode was about the word rig. Now, a lot of us call our off-roaders rigs just because it's simple and it's been around for a few years, but I don't know if we ever really thought about why we call them our off-road rigs. So, one of the guys asked, what is with the term rig? All he knows it as is from the semi-trucks, right? You got a big rig. Well, I think that carried over into the off-roading scene, and nowadays it's like, oh hey, let's load up our rigs and head to the trails, right? So, starting off with answering his question, what do you guys think rig came from?
Sometimes shitbox is inappropriate. So they call it a rig.
Or maybe it's jerry-rigged?
Yeah, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I actually don't know. I know we talked about this a little bit beforehand, but I really don't know. I just hop in your rig, let's go. I don't know if it's just easier than hop in your truggy, hop in your buggy, hop in your shitbox, hop in your dune buggy, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I was thinking when you have something that's purpose-built, doesn't matter what it is, it's your rig. It kind of applies to all different kinds of sports. It's one syllable, it's 3 letters, it's easy to say, it's quick. Everyone knows what you're talking about when you say my rig, like if your inner circle. But I was talking to you earlier, it probably goes all the way back to the shipping days, rigging with your block and tackle and all that stuff.
Right.
And rig up the ship, and then it kind of what were we saying? Transportation,
right.
Like with big rigs,
Yeah, because ships were used back in still are, but all the way from as far ago as forever.
Yeah,
ships were built to transport.
For transportation, and then semis and trains, and the rigging would be like strapping down your load or whatever, and I don't know, it's like.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought because, when we had started Trailbuild, we were talking about different names that included rig in it, like trail rigs or something like that. And, at that time it was like, well, don't really know where that came from, where that word came from, or how it originated and how it carried into the off-roading scene. Because, like myself too, only known as rigs as big rigs. And, so it was just one of those interesting questions that made you think, well, where did that name come from? Why do we call our off-roaders rigs? So I thought it was a good question. Thought it'd be something we could talk about. And I think that's a good point though with, the transportation and then, backpedaling into the rigging that you do, not only on ships, but I'm sure it probably started there, but rigging on semi-trucks or, any of that stuff, and semi-trucks, big rigs, and then now our off-roaders are called rigs. I just thought it was from jerry-rigging them.
No, that's you.
Maybe that's...
Who knows? It's one of those things where people just adapt it into their own term, and
it could
whether it really has an origin or not.
Why do they call Ultra 4 cars not cars?
Yeah.
They're not really a car,
Right.
But, there's just a lot of
That is
unanswered questions about it. I mean, I don't know if there's a real right or wrong answer, but
yeah. I think everybody's got kind of their own, definition of it. But it is interesting. You bring up Ultra 4 cars. Why are they called cars? I think that's like a pet peeve of mine. Why is it a car?
Why do they call engines motors?
Cars don't go off-road,
Yeah.
Yeah, why do they call engines motors? If you guys didn't see episode 2, you gotta see that one because it's kind of funny. But
I'm really not. I mean, you should Urban Dictionary. I bet you it's got
Well,
a real good.
we did
explanation.
we did a search engine optimization keyword search. It's called, or an SEO search on the word rig, and it surprisingly ended up being a very popular word search in our demographic. It wasn't as popular as like off-road or 4x4 or Jeep, or some of those words, but rig was right up there when you search like off-roading terms. So thought it was interesting and thought it was a good question. And
if anybody else has an answer, feel free to drop it. I'd be curious to see what other people think where it originated from, or what they feel their rig,
I would be
rig,
too.
car, truck,
Yeah,
off-roader.
like I was saying before, how it's an evolution of a term. Like I was talking to you this morning about dashboard. A lot of people don't think about where did dashboard come from. Well, it comes all the way back from horse and buggy days, where you actually had a shield in front of your buggy to protect you from like stones flying up from the horses.
Yeah, and the horses, you said dashed, right? Like
When the horses are
horses?
dashing, it's literally a board in front of you to protect your legs. That's where dashboard came from.
That's interesting. Bet you they didn't have the gauges or the.
No.
How fast is my horse
I
going?
don't think they had a tack hooked up to the
They have a
horses.
trans brake.
Oh yeah. So that is interesting though. Floorboards. They were actual boards at that time. I don't think we've seen wood built in a vehicle in a long time, except for
Anybody that owns an XJ, they probably got wood in their floorboard.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, that's cool. But yeah, like Brent said, if you guys have any information on what you think, or even an opinion on where you think the word rig came from, referring to our off-road rigs, let us know in the comments below. I'd be interested to see what you guys think. So yeah, good stuff. So I thought that was a good question. And then another question that we got too is, there's so many people that ask about tires. I mean, that is the number one topic of conversation that we get. And, it comes from close people that we know, and it comes from all of you guys asking all these different questions about tires. And that's because there's just so much information around tires, and there is a lot of chemistry and science and geometry and all of those different things built into tires. And we could literally probably do like 5 episodes just talking about tires alone. But, one of the questions that we got refers to what are all of the ripple effects that you can get from going to a larger tire. From increasing your tire size, there's a lot of ripple effects that happen from that. And not that it's all bad, but I think it's a thing, where you want to be conscientious, where you want to be cognitive of, those ripple effects that can happen when going to an increased tire size. If you're running just a regular, stock Jeep, maybe around a 31-inch tire, and you want to bump up to 35-inch tires, well, it might be okay on a Rubicon where they already have the lower gears. But if you're just on a stock Sport or Sahara or something like that, going to a 35-inch tire, you're going to start to see things like more wear and tear, decreased fuel economy. Your engine's not going to seem like it's working as good because it's just that much more rolling resistance on the tires. And then that's not to include fitment. I mean, there's a lot of different vehicles out there. Last week we talked about, the body mount chops on Tacomas, even just bumping up to like a 34-inch or 35-inch tire. So, that was one of the things that was brought up, is increasing your tire size. And, what are some of those ripple effects that we know of that you'll see from going with bigger tires?
There's a lot.
Yeah, there's so many variables that, I think we touched base on this a little bit too, on it just depends how you drive.
Yeah.
It's, like you said, a Sahara, or whatever, they could come with 307 gears, put 35s with 307s, but some of the newer Jeeps come, I think, with a 6-speed or 10-speed. Like I've noticed, like when we do a Jeep or whatever, obviously a lot of them opt to not do a gear change, but like with a 6-speed transmission, you might be able to make up with that because your first gear is so much lower than just a 4-speed or whatnot. I don't know if there's any truth to that, but it seems like the Jeeps that have like a 6-speed or 10-speed, like not even Jeep, just like some of the trucks, newer trucks, it seems like they are a little better with mileage and that stuff just because I think there's more of a range, a gear selection range, but I don't know if there's any truth to it. It's just
when you're getting
going
up into
from
those,
when I drive one, that's kind of what I've seen.
Yeah, after you get a lift installed and you put bigger tires on, the newer vehicles obviously have a lot more gears built into the transmissions. There's 8-speed. I can't remember what the new Jeeps are, 8-speed or
I wasn't
like
sure.
That, but that definitely helps with compensating for the bigger tire size, because your bigger tires, they're going to be heavier. Most cases they're going to be a bit wider. You'll have more rolling resistance with a bigger tire just because it's got a bigger footprint, and that inertia from the bigger tires, the more weight of the tires travels all the way through your drivetrain into your transmission and driveline and engine and everything else. So it's one thing to be aware of that when you are increasing your tire size, that in most cases your fuel economy is going to suffer. You can expect to replace things like your ball joints and
wheel bearings
and
inner axle joints.
Well, so like when a manufacturer designs a vehicle, it's designed to have a specific size tire. Mm-hmm. The brake setup is to accommodate that size tire or rolling mass. The suspension components, the gearing of the transmission, the power curve of the engine, that all plays a key factor. And once you start messing with outside of those parameters, well, that vehicle wasn't designed, say like a new Silverado, that's not an off-road rig where they have that in mind. It's like this truck came out with a 31, now I want to put a 37. Well, none of those components were designed around a 37, so you're throwing everything off from the front to the back.
Right.
Including
the speedometer.
Everything.
No, and the new ones come with GPS, so even if you put newer or bigger tires on, the speedometer will stay accurate because it's run off of GPS. The new ones are.
Yeah,
I just learned that like a couple weeks ago. That's why I'm not trying to prove you wrong, because we were talking about it, and I'm like, what? And they're like, no, it's controlled by GPS, so you don't have to worry about your speedometer being off.
Which vehicles? Is it a certain brand?
The newer Chevys, like Silverado, I was talking with Banker about it a little bit, and he's like, no, they're controlled by GPS, so you don't have to worry about calibrating your spepedometer.
Oh, that's all I ever use on the Scout, because, well, it doesn't have a speedometer, but...
You're saying GPS because you don't know where you're going?
Well, that doesn't matter as much as making sure that I know what speed I'm going at.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, that's all I ever do too, is I just put the phone on
that works pretty good.
Speedometer app and, put it on the phone holder, and then that way I know exactly what I'm... But that makes sense. I mean, that would be a good way. I wonder how accurate those are, though, because there's some kind of...
I'm not sure.
GPS is supposed to be the most accurate. But...
Well, that's nice to know that even if you do change the tire size, that...
Yeah, and I'm not saying it's all vehicles. I'm just saying that.
It's it's fairly new. I think GM's been doing it for a couple of years now, but up until recently, that was an issue. But like for a real world example, I have a 01 2500 HD Sierra. It's got 410 gears with 6-liter. I went with 35s on it. It murdered my acceleration. My braking is horrible, and I have all new brakes on. I have upgraded pads. Towing capacity is like next to nothing. I mean, Brent knows.
Yeah.
A workhorse truck that's meant to pull, and I went to a 35, which isn't that big. I mean, I don't have steam rollers on it, but the truck's, it's terrible.
Yeah, that's interesting. So what size tires are stock on those?
I think a 265, 75, 16.
Something like that, stock, yeah.
So around like a 33-inch tire, basically.
Yeah,
but it's going to be a little bit skinnier and not as big as the 35s. And yeah, well, and then there's some vehicles where, they're anticipating you upgrading to larger tires.
Like the Jeep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like look at a Rubicon. You can get them with like a 32, 33 stock, They come with 411 gears, and then they come with a 4-to-1 transfer case.
Right.
I mean, I had one. They will. I mean, sometimes it's almost too low.
Yeah.
Depends if you need wheel speed or you're in the mud or whatever. But rocks, it's nice. It's super controlled. But
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, and there's a few guys I talked to that have like the brand new, the JLURs that, you know, they're throwing 37s on there, and said, yeah, they notice, but it's not, you know, it's not a problem. It doesn't, you know, limit the Jeep's capabilities. It did do a little bit of rubbing in the back of the tires and the wheel wells when it was fully stuffed, but 37s on a stock Jeep is pretty good to not have that much of a noticeable effect.
Yeah.
Right. And the other thing we were talking about was motors, engines.
I wasn't gonna say anything.
That'll never go
I felt
away.
like he was gonna snap.
Nope, I'm good.
The forced induction motors, they don't notice as much because you're putting the extra load on the motor, so you're actually creating some boost, compensating. With all the vehicles we've done a lot of F-150s with the EcoBoost. And when we take them in alignment, I was like, shoot, this drive is actually really nice. Like power-wise, and even braking, you know, you can't beat modern brakes. They're just hands down better.
Yeah.
And I think Zach's brother's got
An orange Jeep.
turbo 4-cylinder on 35s, and
sure.
I could not believe that thing scooted.
Yeah,
But-
you upgraded to the 35s,
Yeah,
and when you took it to alignment, right, you noticed that it
I was
still had.
I was thoroughly impressed with power. But you go NA and you put big tires on it, it really hurts it unless you got a lot of
Well,
torque to back it up.
I'm thinking a lot of guys that have, I think it's a 2.4 and or 2.5 in their Jeep. They're older ones with a stick, running 33s or 35s. I don't even know if they use 4th or 5th gear sometimes. But
Right.
yeah, I was impressed too because I drove it, and I was thoroughly impressed too.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of it has to do with, you know, how the car is designed, manufactured. Some will handle a bigger tire and some won't, depending on what they're designed for maybe. I'm not sure. I'm not saying that you can or you shouldn't or you can or whatnot. It's just there's a lot of variables when you start going to a certain size tire.
Well, and two, it's, you know, and a lot of us know that have built our rigs know that once you step up to that bigger tire, that you're gonna find the weak points. You know, it's gonna be your U-joints or, you know, the drive line. Something is gonna give, and, you know, you upgrade whatever part breaks or gives, make it stronger, and then the next thing gives. You know, and that's what happens when you upgrade to bigger tires is, you know, you probably wear through parts faster, but you find what those parts are. You can always, usually there's aftermarket components that are bigger, stronger, or whatever it may be, unless you got like an oddball, like a Toyota Highlander that you're trying to stuff 33s under.
Still trying to do that.
So yeah, so, you know, that's something to just keep aware of, keep cognitive of. You know, when you're upgrading to bigger tires, to, you know, expect those kinds of issues with, you know, just running heavier, bigger tires. You're going to decrease fuel mileage, more wear and tear on all the components, and engine's not going to feel like there's as much power. You might have to do some trimming, and, you know, that's where too, where, you know, it is nice to have the gallery. We have a fitment gallery on Trail Built where, you know, if you do want to upgrade to bigger tires, you can always search out the gallery and see who's already done it and what they had to do to make those bigger tires fit on their vehicle. So it's nice to have that resource as a tool for anybody that's looking to upgrade their rig with suspension and tires. So, but yeah, besides that, I thought that was a good question that was brought up, and I wanted to bring up something real quick when you were talking about the turbo. You know, the what did you call it? The
Leg?
No, you didn't call it a turbo engine, you called it a
Boosted?
Forced induction.
force induction, yeah.
Boosted,
So-
forced induction.
Yeah. So force induction, you know, for anybody that doesn't know, is just an engine with a turbo.
Or
And-
supercharger.
Or supercharger. And when you say NA, you're referring to naturally aspirated or non-turboed, non-supercharged. So
Non-alcoholic?
non-alcoholic.
No power assist.
No power assist. NPAs? Isn't that a beer too? Right, exactly. So I just wanted to bring that up for anybody that was like, what the hell is Blair talking about right now? But yeah, so, you know, a few things to keep in mind there anyway. But
I think the biggest thing that gets overlooked is brakes
yeah,
when people put bigger tires on.
I would agree with that too.
Just going to a more aggressive pad will be huge, especially in the older vehicles where they're only running a single piston caliper up front and it's maybe a smaller rotor going to a better pad. Because I mean, you come off the highway at 70 plus miles an hour and you don't have a lot to stop us and you're like, oh boy, I need a lot of pedal pressure now. Like I know like some of our show trucks at work where they're running big wheels and tires and they got, you know, a lot of rotating mass. They're adding several hundred pounds of rotating mass, and even these HD trucks with Hydro Boost, and they're like, you kind of need 2 feet sometimes running stock pads. You know, they're not
just from upgrading to type.
Yeah.
because they added, you know, 150 plus pounds per corner.
And then you have the rolling radius too. Of
Right.
that
Yeah,
tire.
you got a 11-inch rotor, and then you have an outside diameter, you know, up to 40 inches. That's asking a lot, you know, for that little caliper to clamp down.
Yep.
So just spend a couple bucks on some better pads.
Yeah. Or even if you have
Trolling
drum.
slotted rotor.
Yep.
Yeah, that helps with heat, but you know,
dissipate the heat.
an aggressive pad, like even like a race pad, like a Hawk or what's the other? Shoot,
Wagner's got a all right one too. I forget what they're called, but yeah, I mean, Google search will be your friend for that.
Yeah, and TerraFlex suspension company also makes these big brake kits as well for your Jeep. So when you do upgrade to bigger tires, it is important to keep in mind you not only want to get over those obstacles that you're trying to get over by going with bigger tires because you have more clearance, but once you're over those obstacles, you want to be able to stop too. You know, and it does make a difference increasing the brakes, or even if you have drum brakes, you know, it's important, or one of the things you can do is go to disc brake conversion, and that helps out tremendously. So hopefully that has helped some of you in one way or another. And one last thing I wanted to cover with you guys is we all three of us are in the middle of our garage builds, our projects. We have 3 different projects going on.
4.
Well,
Yeah.
I have 2.
Yep.
Brent's got 2. Blair, you got
5. Shoot.
So
A little bit of everything.
yeah, we just want to touch base real quick because we want to find out from you guys what you guys are working on, and if you guys have any questions on any of the things you're working on. But we also wanted to cover some of the things that we're working on too, and maybe they're relatable to what you guys are working on. But Brent, you're in the middle of a LS swap as well on your
Square body.
K5
Yep.
square body, which is a K5, but it looks like a
It's kind of a half-breed, truggy K5, a little bit of everything. But yeah, wrecked 2 old school small block 350s, and I was looking for something with a little more horsepower. And I wasn't going to spend that much, so I bought a junkyard 5.3, converting it over, and kind of just buttoned some stuff up, waiting on some harness stuff, going with a Holley fuel injection, and I had the wrong harness, so I did some horse trading with the guy and I just redid a bunch of wiring and trying to get the engine, headers, whatnot, all buttoned up, and hopefully soon it'll be going, and then I get back to the S10.
and the S10 is
It's a collaboration of what I come up with and stuff off the internet, and it's a truggy, but
it's a truggy. Yeah, I was just gonna say it's
custom frame I built, 4-linked, engine set way back, running a 2-speed power glide with a trans brake, EcoBox 205, building a motor for it, building an engine for it right now.
Oh, busted.
I mean, nothing special. A buddy of mine's helped me running some forged pistons, and going to feed it some nitrous, so try and get it so it stays together a little bit, but it should be
That's
good.
coilovers in all 4 corners, 4-linked, and 40-inch tires or so.
Yeah,
Full dual
about it.
bead locks and the whole works.
Yep.
Serious rig.
Hopefully, we'll see.
Yeah, I would say whole exo cage on it and custom bent tube all the way around the whole thing. And what engine are you putting in there?
6-liter.
Oh, it's a 6-liter.
Yep.
LS?
LS 6-liter. Yep.
LS? Nice. So that's 2 projects that's going on in your garage right now. And you're doing all the fabrication, all the tube bending, the whole welding, everything.
Everything. Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And then, so I don't know if any of you can relate to that. I'm sure a bunch of you can relate to that. So let us know what you guys are working on. And Blair, you know, we've mentioned this a couple times in our last episodes, but sitting right in front of us here, just off camera, is, you know, one of your projects, you know, one of your 4-wheeled projects, and you guys can see there's a 2-wheel project right here.
Yeah.
So if you want to tell us just a little bit briefly about your projects that you have going on.
So in front of us here is a 31 Buick Coupe 5-window. I originally was building it as a traditional hot rod. I had 2 other vintage vehicles I was building. I got those to the point where they're drivers, and I just didn't. I liked looking at the old stuff. I didn't like driving them. They weren't very fun. It was always needed something. I didn't feel like I could go very far because I didn't know if I was going to make it home. And it made me think, I'm like, I really want to build something that I can go out and have fun. I kind of like rolled all of my interests into one vehicle. Like I'm like Brent, I like everything, but I don't have room for everything.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was like,
Story of our lives.
like I like old school, I like trucks, I like 4-wheel drives, I like diesels. So I'm like, I think I should build like a Frankenstein rig, put my body on a truck chassis, and just have fun with it, kind of just let it tell me what it wants and go from there, and Brent tells me what I should do. But it's not a 97 Dodge Ram chassis, 4-wheel drive. I cut off like 6 feet off the rear of the frame. Brent helped me build a back half for it. We're doing, what are they, 12-inch coilovers, 2.5s in all 4 corners, so it's kind of got a pre-runner-ish suspension. It's a Cummins with an NV45. The trans is built all billet input shafts. It's a built 6BT compound turbos. We're just kind of figuring it out. Hopefully have it done by spring. Just waiting on a lot of parts to come in. Things are starting to come together pretty quickly. The chassis work for the most part is going to be wrapped up in the next 2 weeks. It's going to be holding itself back up again shortly, which is going to allow me to do a lot of other things. We're actually going to push the motor back 6 inches, and then start moving forward on fabbing the rest of the framework, exhaust, fuel system.
The air to water cooler.
Yeah, it's going to have an air to water intercooler on it.
Wow.
37-inch tires, I think, is what I'm going to run.
I
want
awesome.
40s, but
then you got to do the gears and the
Upgrade the brakes.
yeah. Well, the thing is, this is going to be so much lighter than what the chassis was originally set up for. I'm thinking I'm going to be around 4,500 pounds.
Oh, not
Just
bad.
the engine.
Well,
Yeah.
it should be fun.
Yeah.
It should be fun.
It looks pretty awesome. Yeah.
It'll be different. I definitely won't have to worry about pulling up to another one of these at the light.
No. Yeah, that's pretty rad. It's pretty awesome. Do you know about how many foot-pounds of torque and horsepower figures?
So this combo was originally built for sled pulling. I was told it was pushing a lot of boost and a lot of power in that configuration. I know the governor spring was dialed back because the guy was winding up pretty high. Torque's north of 1,000. It's probably in the 500 horse range.
Okay. So we're looking at 4-wheel burnouts.
It should.
Nice.
I'm gonna put my weld to the test.
That'll be fun to do.
Yeah, maybe I'll put a smaller tire on it for that.
What about you, Mr.
Well-
Josh from Trail Build?
Well, first, just to kind of touch on something that Blair said, right now, the whole parts and aftermarket industry, tires, wheels, suspension, accessories, we all are experiencing a lot of inventory shortages.
Yes.
And that's one thing to bring up is I know I've been waiting on stuff for a couple months already. So, and I know you guys are too, and that's to be expected right now. The biggest thing that we can ask for is just that awareness that almost everything's on back order. So, and that's not just us; that's every company out there.
Yep.
And then 2 is just try to do your best at being patient. Because we're on top of it. We're getting things as fast as we possibly can, but it's going to take a while to resupply a lot of these factories' inventory. So I just want to touch on that quick because you said you're waiting on parts, and Brent's waiting on parts. I'm waiting on parts, but something to keep in mind that if you do order something from us from Trail Built, that even if it does say back order, or even if it doesn't, that if it doesn't say back order, chances are high that they'll be shipped quicker, but if it does say back order, it could be a 4 to 6 week wait. Hopefully sooner than that, but what we say is prepare for the worst and hope for the best. So just want to touch on that real quick.
So we feel your pain.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not the only ones waiting. Like
No.
we work for the industry and in the industry, and we're sitting on our hands too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a waiting game. But once everything gets caught back up again, there was just a huge, supply rush during COVID and when everybody was at home. And, that's the thing that I know I did a lot of when I was at home working off the clock was building my stuff in the garage, So, but yeah, with that said, right now, I'm working on my 73 Scout. So that's getting an LS. I know it's a little taboo, but the 392 that I put in there 10 years ago, I sucked up the air cleaner threaded rod in the engine, so it caused some problems. It still runs, just not very good. So I'm pulling that engine, and I'll go through it at some point, but right now I'm going to put a LS in it, so that'll be fun. And then my daily is a Toyota Highlander, so I'm converting that into more like an overlanding rig where I was going to put 31-inch tires on it, but 31s are not available for the ones that I want to put on there. So they said they can send me some 33s, and I said all right. So we're gonna see if we can stuff some 33s in the Highlander.
Nice.
So that should be fun.
Yeah, it will be interesting. I just ordered new struts for it yesterday, which 2 of them are on back order. So I was hoping to get everything buttoned up by the time the snow flies, and I don't think that's going to happen. But yeah, so a couple things going on there too. But
awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely a busy time. But we wanted to bring that up and kind of cover some of the things that we're doing, so that way you guys can let us know what you are working on, or even if you guys have any questions for us about what we're working on as well, just let us know in the comments below. And other than that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up episode 3 of our right now every other week Shop Talk series. And then 2, let us know how you guys like the Shop Talk series. If it's something that you would like to see continued, let us know as well. Other than that, definitely appreciate Blair and Brent joining us again today. And then also, guys, we do have our Anthem Wheels giveaway going on right now. All you got to do, the best way to enter is pick up one of these awesome Anthem Trailboat giveaway t-shirts on our website. Just go to the giveaway page, and guys, a percentage of the proceeds will be going to our friends over at the ASPCA. So just wanted to bring that up quick. Other than that, we definitely appreciate all of you for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, thumbs up to like the video, and always, guys, we appreciate all of you for watching and all of your support. I'm Josh from Trailbuilt. This is Blair. This is Brent, and we'll see you guys out on the trails.